Hello, everybody. Actually, it's an amazing moment because I have an honor to give this speech in the middle of my life. So if I think of the technical milestones from the first half of my life, then I learned to write in the school with a quill and ink. And it was under the Soviet-Russian occupation, but my main concern was not the occupation, but the ink blots everywhere. Time went on, and when I wrote my first thesis at the university, so the first part I wrote on a typewriter. It was a German one from 19th century, because again, under the Soviet occupation, the spread of information was very much controlled, and you had to use any antiquities you could find. But the second half of my thesis was already written on a computer because Estonia had regained its independence, and the ways of processing the text were new and modern. And now I'm a member of Estonian Parliament, and when I prepared for this speech, the situation was following. Hi Siri, please open for me the ChatGPT app and write a speech, the future of governance, the potential of AI in national parliaments, and please include some examples from Estonia. The text was ready super quick, and it was awful. So you have to trust me, as you usually trust the politicians. I'm not using this today. But in my experience, the ChatGPT has very similar characteristics to bad politicians. Bad politicians and ChatGPT share no vision of future. They both take ideas from widely marketed texts without taking any attention whether the text is right or wrong, without taking any ethical stance, and without thinking of future. There is a zero effort of analyzing development possibilities of itself as well. And both the bad politicians and the ChatGPT leave out all the people who are suffering so much that they are silent. Operating with just that which is already there, the good qualities for future are not possible. So I think we as politicians will not lose our work soon, at least not to the ChatGPT. Somebody has to take decisions, and sometimes those who have to take the decisions are the politicians. ChatGPT for politicians could be something like a member of opposition party. Yes, sometimes he or she might have good ideas, but you have to remain cautious and think several times over when going along with these ideas. So let's talk about future possibilities. My topic today is not what parliaments decide, but how they decide. One can find tons of papers out there about the threats of AI, and a very limited number of papers on AI projects that help the parliaments with the technical tasks, mainly carried out by the non-political staff. AI and parliaments have so far meant only speeding up the technical work. In the Estonian parliament, for example, we use a speech-to-text thing called Hans that simultaneously transcribes word for word all the brilliant ideas out there at the Parliament Hall. It makes it a good example for inclusion for those who have hearing impairments. And of course, inclusion is always good for politics. But this is a very positive step. Inclusion is very good. But there are many examples like that where the technical work is just made to happen in a more fast way. Of course, this is very important and has to be there. And there is a lot we all can do in a quicker way. sometimes even with less bureaucracy. But besides this wonderful thing, my question is, how can we use AI to enhance democracy, democratic decision-making itself? AI can be used not only to speed up the technical work and technical aspects of the inclusion, which is of course very important, but the general aim should be to do everything possible that makes democracy better. And these possibilities actually exist, to make decisions of the people, by the people, and for the people. Could this be achieved with AI assistance to politicians? The answer is yes and no. Actually, it can be both ways. One can use an AI assistant to politician to make better contacts with other politicians with similar ideas, but at the same time it can be used as a spin machine or as a way to find out the facts that only support your political vision and make the division even more deep. So AI can, as a supporter, technical supporter, can be used in both ways. In my eyes, however, the use of AI in the Parliament should go beyond the technical support. I strongly believe that AI has the potential to help politicians actually practice better politics. I don't think that the important solution is IA helping the gathering of the background information, because as said, AI can enhance part politics by gathering just common or widespread, biased, not prudent or unbiased information. Truthfully, one of the main problems the deputies face is that they do not understand, we do not understand, what can be decided at all, including what norms can be abolished as unnecessary. The bills that come to Parliament for deciding come from surrounding extremely complicated legal framework. This is because we as politicians, we as humankind, have already produced a tremendous amount of laws, regulations and norms. Regulations and norms, at the same time, are also the heart of AI. We can cooperate here. Let me give an example. I'm the chairman of the European Union Affairs Committee. The European Union law is soon nearly 500,000 pages. When a member state, especially a small member state like Estonia, takes over an EU law to national law, the parliaments have already discussed the topic beforehand, and so there is very, very limited area where parliamentarians can make real changes. The main challenge, therefore, is that it takes an enormous amount of time for a deputy to find this actually open decision-making sphere, all these gaps, possibilities and places where politicians actually can and should make future-looking decisions. Last year, around half of the work of the Estonian parliament was related to the adoption of EU law. So it's a huge amount of work I'm speaking about. But realistically, deputies do not have the capacity to work through all the EU legislation to truly understand what their opportunities are as representatives of people, to make sure that the laws are in accordance with the interests of their constituents. I believe that this is a crucial place where AI could help the Parliament to compare the legislative documents concerning EU law and national laws and pinpoint where the actual decision-making possibilities lie. This would enhance democracy in a way we haven't seen in the last decades, as the politicians could really make more decisions in the areas that they are entitled to. And I would like to underline here, it includes also abolishing the not important, non-necessary old laws or norms. To achieve this, many aspects must be still considered. Firstly, that this AI model should not resemble a bad politician, meaning it should not include misinformation that would bias the parliamentarians, that are biased anyway due to their political background. The AI would have to be trained in appropriate, high-quality data, which would include the entirety of the EU and member state accumulated legislations, having also other impacting norms, maybe even value-based constitutions in mind. This model could not operate on a specific set of rules, but should be able to establish intricate connections between legislation. This is what we actually are waiting from all the politicians, to make new future-orientated connections. And then the democracy moment for the politician comes, to look beyond the past and the rules that exist, to look into the eyes of our children, considering their future life, and only then propose, but indeed propose new ideas, and only after all this really decide together with other human beings what is the best for our future. Innovative and maybe also totally new solutions for the future are the key words here for decision-making. Designing for future possibilities is the most important keyword. And that is where human beings, including sometimes politicians, are better than AI and will be better than AI. This is true also for the regulation on artificial intelligence itself. Even though it's clear that AI requires some legislative guardrails, the difficulty lies in finding a balance between creating safe technology while not overly curtailing innovation. We have too many norms already. I believe that if the EU wants to achieve the status of a global technological forerunner, thus we must not overregulate and fall behind, as the rest of the world continues AI innovation at a staggering pace. It is my belief that when created in a safe, ethical and unbiased manner, we can have AI play a significant role in the future of democratic governance, in the future of better democracies. Of the people, by the people and for the people. To conclude, I very much trust the possibility that if used in a wise way, AI can be a good partner to politicians and enhance democracy. We have to work on these possibilities based on the best knowledge of humanity, because we don't have a second to lose in making all countries more democratic and future-oriented. That's the work we as politicians should carry on with AI, sometimes without AI, and much more often together with other human beings. Thank you so much.